everyone. Welcome back to Keto and Crime. I am finally back fully after the holidays. You know, I had the COVID situation, and then we got hit with snowpocalypse, and I was out of internet for almost a whole week. So all I had was my hotspot. It was all I could do just to keep up with my day job. So I apologize for my absence, but I am back and we are going to cover actually a special I managed to watch over the holidays or actually just recently. And I went back and rewatched another special over the holidays that kind of coincided with it. But we're going to talk about the latest money grab in the case of the murder of young Caylee Anthony. I'm sure you all have heard of this case. Casey Anthony, definitely one of the most hated people in America, and rightfully so. But if you're unfamiliar with the case, I will give you the most brief of rundowns. If you want an excellent multi-part deep dive on the case of Caylee Anthony, I cannot recommend Stephanie Harlow's deep dive on that enough. I will link her channel down below and up above so that you can check those out. But she goes into everything right down to the color of the underpants everybody was wearing. So I can't do it any better than that. But just for those of you that may have not heard, or some of you from other countries that may have not heard of the case, I'm going to give you the briefest of rundowns, and then we're going to talk about a new special that dropped recently that kind of got my blood to boiling a little bit. So let's dive in, shall we? So Caylee Anthony was a Florida toddler that disappeared in 2008. She lived in Orlando, Florida. She lived with her grandparents, George and Cindy. Anthony and her mom, Casey, who was in her very early 20s at the time. She disappeared on June 16th when her mom, Casey Anthony, said she was going to work and was taking her to her babysitter. And from then on, Casey herself kind of disappeared, at least from the view of her parents, because she went to stay with her current boyfriend and basically stayed gone for 30 days. During that 30 days, she did things like go out and party. Her boyfriend at the time was a party promoter at a club, so she was seen at clubs. She was in wet t-shirt contests, that kind of thing. Lots of pictures of her out drinking and partying. And Casey was nowhere in sight all along. Casey's grandparents, George and Cindy, calling her, trying to see their granddaughter, and they were met with a barrage of excuses. Caylee, they were in Jacksonville, Florida, visiting an ex-boyfriend who she was going to get back together with. They were in Busch Gardens. They were at Walt Disney World. All these different excuses. Also, during this time, Casey lied to her friends about going with them on a vacation, and as a result, one of the friends allowed her to use her car, and also she had access to her checkbook. So Casey wrote a bunch of fraudulent checks on her checkbook, and finally, it all came to a head when Cindy Anthony, her mom, basically went to the boyfriend's apartment, picked her up, and demanded to know where Caylee was. And it was at that time that Casey told her parents that Caylee had been missing for over a month, 31 days, and she was kidnapped by the nanny, Zenelda Zanny Fernandez Gonzalez, who does not exist. She was made up along with everything else in Casey Anthony's life. Casey Anthony was born in 1986. Pretty average growing up. You know, they were average middle class. George had been the father, George Anthony, had been was a retired police officer, not a retired police officer, a former police officer who worked in security, and her mother, Cindy, was a registered nurse. By all indications, Cindy definitely wore the pants in that family, but it was, a pretty open and honest kind of thing. She had an older brother who seemed to have grown into a well-adjusted young man and moved out, whereas Casey remained living with her parents. Her parents wanted her to either work or go to school, so for a time, they thought she was doing that. But unfortunately, Casey lied about everything. She lied about working at Universal Studios. She lied about working a part-time job at a sporting goods store, all the time stealing money from either her parents or her grandmother, who had an account where she took care of Casey's grandfather, who was in an assisted living, all the time scamming money, doing things like that to make ends meet. And then she gets pregnant. They don't know who the father is. Several names were thrown around. A boy that, or actually a young man that Casey was dating at the time of pregnancy, she'd only been dating him a couple of weeks. First, she said it was his, which he knew that wasn't the case. And then she told her mother that it had been a one-night stand and the gentleman was killed in a car accident. And then she changed her story a myriad of times after that. But we will get to that. But basically, lies, lies, lies. Even her car was given to her by her parents. So she was completely at the behest of her parents, and they all lived together with Kaylee in the parents' home in Orlando. So you can imagine how easy it was for the grandparents to realize, hey, we haven't seen our granddaughter in a long time. Where is she? And Casey spun a myriad of tales about why they could not see their granddaughter, and it all culminated in a forced 911 call that Cindy made one, and then she forced Casey to speak to the dispatcher, and I will drop that here.
11 that was received by the Orange County Sheriff at 20:44:30 hours. The recording is a true and accurate representation of the call. The parties have agreed to this fact, and it should be considered as true in your deliberations. You may publish.
Status of your emergency.
4937 Hope Spring Drive.
4937 Hope Springs
Drive, Orlando.
Okay, what's happening?
I have someone here that I need to be arrested in my home.
They're there right
now? I have a possible missing child. I have a 3-year-old that's been missing for a month.
A 3-year-old?
Yes.
Have you reported that?
I'm trying to do that now, ma'am.
Okay, what did the person do that you need arrested?
My daughter.
For what?
For stealing an auto and stealing money. I already spoke with someone. They said they would patch me through the Orlando Sheriff's Department and have a deputy here. I was in the car. I was going to drive her to the police station, and no one's open. They said they would bring a deputy to my home when I got home to call them.
So she stole your vehicle?
Yes.
When did she do that?
On the 30th. I just got it back from the impound. I'd like to speak to an officer. Can you have someone come out to my house?
Okay. Okay, I gotta ask you these questions so I can put them in the call, okay?
Okay.
30th of June?
Yes.
Okay, how old is your daughter?
22.
Okay, what's her name?
My name?
Her name.
Her name, Casey Anthony. C-A-S-E-Y.
And your name?
Cynthia Anthony.
Cynthia, can I get a phone number that I can reach you at?
407-808-4731.
And you said you have this vehicle back?
Yes. And I have the statement.
Casey's there right now?
Yes, I got her. I finally found her after a month. She's been missing for a month. I found her, but we can't find my granddaughter.
Okay, how tall is Casey?
5'1.5".
Thin, medium, or heavy build?
Thin.
color hair?
Brown.
What color shirt is she wearing?
White.
What color pants?
Oh, they're shorts. They're plaid. They're like pink and teal and white and black plaid.
Does she have any weapons on her?
No.
Is Casey not telling you where her daughter is?
Correct.
Okay, we'll have a deputy out to you as soon as one's available, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So basically, Casey had abandoned the car that her parents had given her because she did not have money for gas, and it was towed. And of course, George and Cindy got the notification to go pick up this car. They picked it up, and they said when they opened the trunk, it smelled like a dead body had been in there. So this made them really realize something was wrong, and they went and got Casey, and the 911 call was made. Basically, investigators were dispatched, and immediately she spun the story that a fictional nanny by the name of Zanny Fernandez Gonzalez had kidnapped the toddler. She gave them a fake address of an apartment where this person supposedly lived. They checked out all those leads. They came to a dead end. Either somebody else was living there, the apartment had been vacant for years, or that apartment literally did not exist. They also, she told them, of course, she worked at Universal Studios, and they figured out that was a lie when they were asking for some messages from her cell phone. She kept telling them she had a work cell phone because she was a party planner or events planner for Universal Studios. And she had worked at Universal Studios a long time ago, but never came back after she had the baby. But even though she was telling everybody she still worked there, and she got a promotion. So she said she had 2 cell phones, and one of them was left in her office. And the detectives were like, okay, let's go get those phones. So literally, she walked these 2 detectives around Universal Studios, taking them through turns, yelling out at people, hey, how you doing? Probably people that had no idea who she was. And basically finally admitted that she did not work here, that she'd been telling a lot of lies. And so she was subsequently arrested on July 16th. And Kaylee had been missing since June 8th for the disappearance. She was kept in jail for a long time. The entire time, Cindy and George supported her. They believed that she really had been kidnapped, and they were literally holding her, waiting for a body to be found. She was let out on parole for a small little bit of time or probation, but then taken right back into custody in Orlando. But basically, in August, a meter reader by the name of Roy Crunk called the police about a suspicious object he found near the Anthony residence.
How can I help you, sir? I'm a meter reader with Orange County, and I had the route today that included the Anthony's home. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I went down to the school and came back, and when I was coming back, I stopped between the 2 swamp areas there. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about or not.
No, but go ahead.
There's a stretch of road there that goes from like where their start of their road is down to a school, and in between it on either side there's a swamp. And if you're heading back out towards the main road on the left-hand side, in an area, I noticed something that looked white, and there was, I don't know what it is. I'm not telling you it's Kaylee or anything of that nature. So I just don't.
Do you know what street Anthony Home is on?
Yeah, it's on Good Hope, isn't it?
Okay, Good Homes, and what's the nearest intersecting street?
It's the one that comes off of, isn't that? It's like Suburban or something like that?
Hold on, I just want to bring up the map. Hold on.
Because I just read that. That's the route I had today to read the meters on.
Hold on.
And this could be nothing.
I don't find Good Homes intersecting with Suburban anywhere.
What does it intersect with?
Oh, my God. Don't find.
No, it was a Shinobi, like 3 roads it intersects with.
Good Homes Road?
Yeah. Does Anthony live off of? It's back in that little subdivision. There's like a elementary school or something back there.
You don't know what the name of it is?
Oh, God, no. It's in my GPS, though. I might be able to pull it up. Hold on. Do you see a something? No. Hold on, let me go pull my GPS. Coming up now.
I'm looking at the phone book.
Loading maps. All right, hold on. Should be up in a second. 3 or 2.
Is it Anthony House on Holly Street in Zellwood?
No, it should have Suburban Drive. It's like the school's 8701 Suburban Drive, but it's actually at the end of the road, not at the beginning of the road. And that's where and their road comes off of Suburban Drive. And I work up at the 𝗏𝗏𝗃, at the headquarters there at 𝗏𝗏𝗃, and we were over there reading that today. And,
okay, I have the map now, okay? Yeah. 8701 Suburban is in 𝗙𝗂𝗃 subdivision.
Yeah, that's
the nearest intersecting street is 𝗙𝗂𝗃 and Lumberton.
Right. If you go down that road, that's where the school's at. In between from where you can get onto their road at and down, there's a swamp area. If you're heading towards the school on the right and left, if you're heading towards the school, it'd be on your right-hand side. And there's like a big swamp area there, and we found a dead 4-foot eastern diamond rattle back there, but that's not really the thing. There's like 2 little in areas you can go, and there's a big long tree laying down, and there's a lot of swamp back in there. Well, back behind one of the trees down there was all that 4-foot eastern diamond rattlesnake. I'm not going in that crap.
Okay, so if you're going on Suburban,
you're heading down towards the school.
Okay, and it's after 𝗙𝗂𝗃 on the right-hand side?
Yeah, there's the road kind of stops, and then there's like this, you go down, and there's a 6-foot-tall fence on the left-hand side, and then the right-hand side's open heading towards the school, and it's all swamp area on both sides. And it would be on the right-hand side that I saw what I saw.
Okay, I'll let them know.
I appreciate you, and once again, I had no idea what it was, so and I don't want to waste any more of the county's money, but I'm just telling you I saw something.
Not a problem.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It had been flooded for a while, so they could not get down in there, and he saw what appeared to be human remains. And basically, it took 3 times for him calling, saying something was strange. And finally, a supervisor from the water board called and said, hey, can somebody at least send an officer, Orlando Police Department, down there to take a look? And eventually it turned out to be Kaylee's remains. She was in a trash bag, wrapped in a sleeping bag, with clothes that everybody associated with Casey recognized, and her mouth and face duct taped partially. So basically, after doing an autopsy and comparing dental records, it was the body of Caylee Anthony, and Casey Anthony was arrested for first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, aggravated manslaughter, and providing false information to law enforcement. The media frenzy around this case was huge. George and Cindy went on the Today Show, Good Morning America, defending their daughter. Everything that Casey said, she put out there, saying that, she gave so many different stories about what had possibly happened to Kaylee, from this fictional nanny, to she didn't know where she was, to eventually landing on the ultimate story that she gave her defense attorney, was that Kaylee had drowned in a swimming pool, and her father covered it up by burying the body because her father had been subsequently abusing her, and then later on, years later, said Kaylee. So yeah, a lot of things. But basically, there was a huge trial that went on for months and droned on into years by the time this case was finally decided. But basically, all the evidence presented showed that all the things that were present around Kaylee's body, the sleeping bag, the garbage bags, the duct tape, all those things, the exact brand, serial numbers, everything were found in the Anthony residence. There were tons of witnesses about people that had seen Kaylee during the period that she was missing. And the one common thread, they all had a different opinion of 𝗂𝗂, but the one common thread is that she never once mentioned her daughter was missing, did not seem upset, urgent. The only ones that seemed to be very upset about it were Cindy and George. George attempted to suicide at one point during this whole saga, but eventually on July 5th, 2011, it went on, like I said, for about 2.5 years. 𝗂𝗂 was found not guilty and set free. And of course, that started a whole shitstorm. Basically, 𝗂𝗂 went into hiding. There were protests outside her parents' house, and she kind of disappeared from the public eye, only to reemerge with a brand new special in 2022 on the Peacock Network called Where the Truth Lies. And the truth lied nowhere around that docuseries. It was about 3 episodes. I watched it when it first came out, and I rewatched it over Christmas. And let me tell you, she is spinning so many new stories from what she said really happened, that Universal Studios had lied on her, that about her not working there, that they had she said she quit when she was actually fired, and that her father had abused not only her but her granddaughter, and that he drowned her in the pool. And even though at first she said she was accidentally drowned in the pool, before that the mythical um, babysitter had stolen her, and that he himself had forced her to lie to the police and help hide the body. And so that was the final lie that Casey Anthony told via her special, trying to make herself sympathetic. Just another cash grab, because it's a well-known fact that she sold pictures of Kaylee to the press while in jail to make money to pay some of her legal expenses. So yeah, just another money grab. Well, of course, as documentary companies do, they decided to yet cash in again. And on January 4th of this year, another docuseries, or actually documentary. This was actually a documentary, not a docuseries, because it aired in one long continuous episode. Dropped on AMC/Lifetime. You can also get it on Amazon Prime. With Casey Anthony's parents taking a lie detector test. And it took them 2 hours to go through the history of the case, which I found very interesting. I saw pictures of 𝗂𝗂 and Kaylee I'd never seen before, and basically showed their lives today, how they kind of keep one of the rooms, kind of a part of it, a little shrine to Kaylee, how they have Kaylee's ashes. They talk about how they are not on good terms with their daughter, obviously. And it also kind of shows, I was very surprised because it was broken into 2 parts. First, George took a lie detector test. He took 2. One referring to had he ever abused 𝗂𝗂, Kaylee, or any underage child. And then another about whether or not he had anything to do or had any knowledge about the murder and disappearance of Kaylee. And he took 2, and Cindy took 1 about whether or not she knew anything about the disappearance or abuse of either of them as well. So basically, you had this retired FBI agent and reporter coming in and talking to them. You saw a little bit. I thought it was very interesting that they filmed it all in the Anthony's home. You saw Cindy getting a little huffy with the documentarian crew about where they were, filming, and she had a panic attack. All very dramatic. And then you finally got to the lie detector test. It took, several segments for them to take the lie detector test, and at the end, the lie detector test proves that they were telling the truth. Another interesting part of the documentary is them watching selected portions of Casey Anthony's, and I did an in-depth dive on Casey Anthony's Where the Truth Lies. If you want to watch it, it's right up there. watching selected segments of that because according to them, they had never watched it. They've cut all ties with their daughter, and so they were watching it and having a reaction to certain parts. And I found that very interesting because there was obviously a lot of emotion there. I do feel a little bit of sympathy for these two, but ultimately, is this really worth watching? No. I mean, if you're really into the case like I am, of course, but to me, it's just another cash grab. I'm sure they were paid. And what does it really prove? Nothing. There is a reason that lie detector tests are not admissible in a court of law. This proves it because the way I kind of watched when they were doing the lie detector tests, I'm not quite sure. They cut it in such a way that maybe they were making them look kind of sinister, but then they said the lie detector test proved that they were innocent, or at least they were not lying about it. So in the end, does this really prove anything? No. George put forth an interesting theory, and it's become quite an accepted theory. In fact, one of the judge on the case even said this, that he really believes that Zanny the nanny referred to Xanax and that Kaylee had drugged Casey had drugged Kaylee to put her out so she could go out and party and accidentally gave her too much. And that's what happened to her. Even though Casey denies that, she denied it in her special, she denies it all along. But that's where we stand. We still don't truly know what happened to Kaylee and Casey. I believe that Casey did it. I honestly believe whether it was an accident or intentional, she did it. She hid the body, and now she's just trying to doff it off on her parents. I think her parents are guilty of being naive. I don't believe there was any abuse in that family, from what I can see. Not because of the lie detector test, but just because of everything else that I've observed and read about them. So they're both interesting watches, but it really doesn't add any more information other than the reaction that the two parents have to watching their daughter's documentary. To me, that's the most interesting part. And if you want to see that, definitely go watch that part. But other than that, doesn't really add anything new to the case, in my opinion. But maybe one day we'll really have a break. Maybe on her deathbed, Casey will confess. But I wouldn't hold it past her because she's full of nothing but lies. But with that being said, if you're interested in watching it, definitely check it out on Amazon, Lifetime Movie Network, Lifetime, or AMC. And until next time, I'll be back real soon with another video. Keep on crime.